So I am pro gatekeeping when it comes to alternative subcultures, and I think you might be too. Just hear me out. First of all, I just want to say that when I say alternative subcultures, I mean goth and punk because those are the ones that I care about, and it's just more relevant to all, maybe to all punk derived subcultures. I don't know. But that's what I mean. I mean goth and punk. First of all. Second of all, let's talk about the definition of gatekeeping because I hear people talk about gatekeeping all the time and they're not talking about what I'm talking about. So what am I talking about? So I found a cute little definition here that I'm cool with. And it is to gatekeep is to control access to something or determine the legitimacy of people's claims to a particular status by unilaterally imposing criteria for acceptance. Okay. So now that first part is a little bit sus, right? To control access to something. Not cute, right? Because that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about controlling access to a scene or to a sound or to anything like that, right? That's not what I'm talking about. The second part, though, I would basically interpret it as saying there is a line, right, that exists where you can be in or not in a subculture based on certain things, right? And I think that's the case when it comes to punk and when it comes to goth. So as I was thinking about this, I asked myself, what parts of punk and goth agree with the idea of gatekeeping? And then I'm like, that is a weird question. And it's a unique question because it shows that goth and punk are subcultures that are rooted in certain values, which is unique for a musical movement. Because like, if you think about like pop, for example, what is pop music rooted in? Like, what's the value system of pop music? It doesn't exist. But I think it just highlights the uniqueness. Again, it's not the only genre like that exists, but it highlights the uniqueness of these genres and subcultures. Okay, so back to the question. Where do punk and goth agree with the idea of gatekeeping? The first example that my mind went to was Brazil, particularly São Paulo, in the late 1970s, early 1980s. During this time, Brazil was under a military dictatorship, and the punk movement, as one would guess, right, was very opposed to that. People who were punk were opposed to the military dictatorship. And if you were not opposed to that dictatorship, you were not welcome into the punk scene, into that subculture, into that movement. That is to say, there was a line drawn in the sand. That is to say, there was gatekeeping happening. So as I was thinking about this topic, I was like, okay, so where are the areas that I feel like gatekeeping is okay? Do I think there's areas? I already said at the beginning that there are, so yeah. But the areas that I think that gatekeeping can be necessary are the isms, so sexism, racism, things like homophobia, things like transphobia, even things like extreme consumerism to the point where the whole subculture for you is just about like consuming, right? And about the appearance of and nothing else, like that's not what it's about, right? So anyways, that's another conversation. But these are places where I think that gatekeeping could be cool. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's go back to the isms, particularly sexism. So this is a place where there has been gatekeeping in the punk community and is accepted as a good thing. So what I'm talking about here is Riot Girl. So this is a movement that started, a musical movement, a musical subgenre, musical subculture that started in the 1990s. And at the center of it, yes, was punk music, but was also feminist values. So that means in order to be a part of this scene, a part of this movement, a part of what Riot Girl was, it wasn't just thinking like, oh my God, this music eats. Like, that's not the point, right? It's not just that. It also is, now these are crazy criteria, right? But do you believe that women have value and have equal value and should have equal rights? Crazy stuff like that, right? But anyways, if you did not possess these values, then you were out. You were not considered a part of this movement. There was a line in the sand. Again, gatekeeping. My hair is giving emo. And I hate that for me. I say all that to say that I, and maybe you, are pro gatekeeping. And even saying that, it sounds disgusting to me. Even saying it coming out of my mouth, I will admit that now at the end of this. It feels disgusting because it seems anti-punk, because it seems like it's buying into hierarchies that punk is against. And the reason why it feels that way is because a lot of times it is used by people who use it in a way that is very superficial. Oh my God, you glue on your piercings. You're such a poser. Oh my God, you don't wear like the perfect punk or perfect goth outfit. Oh my God, poser. And it's like, girl, no. That's not what any of this is like about, at the core of it. That's not really what it's about. And so I think that's the reason why it feels gross to me to like embrace that term. So I probably would never like outside of this video be like, I'm a gatekeeper. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that. So if I'm totally honest, when I was thinking about doing this video, I had to ask myself like, is this useless? Given our current hellscape that we live in of social justice / the lack thereof, is this like stupid to do? Is this a silly conversation? And then I realized the only reason that I was asking myself that is because most of the conversations that I see on here about it are silly, but that isn't what it has to be, right? And then I realized, like, honestly, now more than ever, remembering the values that these subcultures come from, right? Remembering what they're built on, now more than ever, it's important. Not now more than ever, because the world has never been like super cute or anything like that, but you know what I mean? Now, as much as ever, I think that the values of these subcultures are really important. And honestly, that's kind of the point of this video, to remind us, like, there's a history to all of this, you know what I mean? And these are built on things that are very important, and they're so much bigger than shit like piercings. Also, I do want to know people's perspectives. Like, do you think that gatekeeping is inherently bad? Is it negative? Is there any room where gatekeeping is okay? Is there room for gatekeeping?